All right, so Duke, dude.
Yeah.
What are some cool things that people can do to save some money?
They can do things like form an S Corp.
Tell me about that.
So essentially what an S Corp does, the whole purpose of an S Corp and why people form S Corps is to save on self-employment taxes. Typically what we tell our clients and everything is like we want to start looking at an S Corp when the business is profiting about $50,000 to $80,000.
Okay.
Then we'll talk about that. We'll walk through the strategy and things like that. But before any strategy, and this is like super important to me, and this is a problem that I always run into, is like, we got to have bookkeeping. Without bookkeeping, we can't do nothing. Like nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the number one thing. So the number one tip I have is like, hey, always take care of your bookkeeping first.
Yeah.
If we can take care of your bookkeeping first, we can see where money's going. We can see how money's coming in. If it's good, then we're going to talk about some tax strategies like, hey, how we can write off your car, how we can form an S Corp. Let's talk about the home office deduction or hiring your kids in your business. So.
Yeah. So it seems like and this is something we see at TrueBooks all the time. Like bookkeeping, like you mentioned, is number one. Yeah. Because when you think about bookkeeping, there's three things that it helps. Like one, it's going to make your tax prep way less. Yeah. There's less work from the accountant. Like it's already ready, rolling, baby. Two, it's going to help you make better decisions throughout the year. Right. I don't understand how businesses make decisions without knowing their numbers. Right. I see it all the time, and I was guilty of it when I was hustling and, making things happen. Yeah. Like, I don't have time to keep books, dude. Right. I can't look. I have no detail orientation around me. It's
fine. It's getting done though. That's what's important.
Yeah, and so I remember I'm like, I'm making a lot of money, but where's it at? Like, it's not in my bank. Right. And I realized like, oh man, there's a lot of money going in and out that I'm just not aware of. Yeah. And so I think bookkeeping will help you actually know. That's why we called the company True Books. Yeah. You need to know what's truly happening. Super
important. Yeah. A lot of people want to save on taxes, but they don't want to take care of the most important thing, which is bookkeeping.
You have to pay for it. But yeah, the third thing it allows you to do is typically, like, if you're going to get bookkeeping, with us anyway, too, is like, you're going to get all the other services as well. Of like, okay, now that we're keeping your books and we're doing tax prep, we know for sure we can help you with tax planning and all the things you just mentioned.
Yeah, you can identify opportunities.
Yeah. So tell me about the S Corp. It's a common thing that people may have heard of, but they don't really understand why. Why do you have to be making 50 to 80 for it to make sense?
So it typically starts making sense between that 50 to 80,000 range because there's an additional expenses that comes with forming an S Corp, such as an additional tax return. So you're filing a separate tax return. So typically when you're, sole proprietor, you're self-employed, your business income and expenses get reported on your personal tax return. Right. Now we're filing an additional tax return. So let's say we form an S Corp, and let's say, hey, dude, you're doing about $40,000. I think forming an S Corp can save you about $1,000. Right. Hey, but the S Corp tax return costs $1,200. You're like, so it's like you're saving taxes, but you're incurring more expenses. Yeah. So typically that's why, this is why bookkeeping is really important. When you look at that threshold, hey, your net profit's about 50 to 80, because not only that, we got to do payroll software. Right. So that's an additional expenses. There's a lot more maintenance that comes with forming an S Corp. And so you want to make sure your tax savings are higher than those additional expenses. Yeah. And typically we see that around that 50 to 80,000 cushion.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks for watching that clip from the Ryan Pineda Show. If you want to see the full interview, you can actually find it in the link below. Make sure you also subscribed on both YouTube and Apple Podcast.